Well, welcome back. This is a super special Thanksgiving edition of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I'm Chris Clements. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone who's listening to this during the Thanksgiving Giving Thanks holiday.
Probably hear this after Thanksgiving, or at least the weekend. But
yeah,
why don't you introduce the most special guest we've had?
We are really blessed to have a very special guest in our presence, and that's my daughter, Grace Catherine Clements.
Hi.
Direct from the great University of Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, Texas, here on break. And we thought it'd be a great idea to have her on, talk a little bit about her college experience during COVID and some other interesting ideas.
Well, I mean, I think that it's good for our listeners and viewers to get a lot of different perspectives. And, you know, we talk a lot about what COVID has done to education, what's going on in higher education, and Grace, you're living it.
Yeah.
So I can only talk about it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, I can get my daughter's up at NEU, and I can glean some things, but hearing it from
you've got thousands of kids coming home for the holidays, and this is probably one of the more normal holidays that they've had in 2 years.
Yeah. It was evidenced by I got home. We flew back from New York last night, and airport was jam-packed. A lot of college kids coming home. Saw someone who obviously plays a sport for Princeton. She was decked out in her Princeton Tigers gear, and she's tall. Maybe volleyball or basketball, I don't know which, but her family was waiting for her outside security. That was fun to see. When did you get home, Grace?
I got home on Friday.
Oh, nice. So you've had the whole week.
Yeah, they just changed it this past year for us to have the week, which is really nice. It used to just be we had Monday and Tuesday, and then we go on break, but everyone already left anyways. So it made no sense to keep those days, in my opinion. So.
Right.
But last year, because of COVID, you were actually in school. Mm-hmm. And you had a really condensed schedule. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So first semester, instead of having the full normal semester, we got off before Thanksgiving. So a year ago, I had my last final, and I came home. And it had its positives and negatives. Positive, it's always hard after that week of Thanksgiving to go back, and then you have to get back into school because it's all finals and you just got to go. So that was really nice just being done and having that long break. But also it was hard because we had no breaks that semester. We didn't have Labor Day off. We didn't just have anything. We even had class on Saturdays because we had to meet those certain amount of days that you need in the semester. So that's how that was. Spring semester was a little bit more normal. We got off at our normal time. We had a different kind of spring break. We had Monday and Friday off. I came home for the whole week, but because all my classes were online or they canceled, I can't really remember much of it. I know I was just here.
Right.
But it's back to normal this year, which is nice.
Are all of your classes this semester in person, or do you still have some online?
They're all in person.
You like that better?
It also has its positives and negatives, because one thing with being online, I was able to come home if I wanted to and just do my class from my room. And this year I can't. But also I think a lot of people got used to taking tests and stuff online, which some of my tests are still online. I think it was just easier for the teacher, and I have all day to take it, which is also really nice for us in our busy schedules. But it is nice to be back in the classroom with a physical teacher and sitting next to people and just interacting with other students.
It's a big part of the college experience, right?
Well, what was interesting is that your school really tried to do this hybrid sort of interaction last year. You were in the dorms, you were doing online classes, but you had maybe one or two in-person classes versus, some of your friends, they were all online. They weren't at school. I think even the Arizona schools were different stages of opening. What was that like?
I mostly had online classes, except first semester there was 2 classes that were hybrid, which was I mean, again, with like that option for the hybrid, I think the Zoom option is very beneficial, especially like if you're not feeling good and you just can't go to class that day, even if it's not COVID, you don't want to sit in a classroom full of people. And so that option is just like was still nice, because we did also have a scare at the beginning of the year with one of my roommates. And so I was like, we don't know if she has it or not. So I don't want to go to class. So like that was a nice option to have that. A lot of teachers don't have that anymore, which it's like nice to be back in class again, but it's also nice to just have that option just in case you need it. Because then if you miss something, it's hard to catch up.
Right.
And then second semester, I only had one class in person, and that was fully in person. Nothing was online. And that was like still nice too, but it's still just a transition and just finding that balance, I think.
Yeah. Do they require masks in class?
Yeah. You're required to wear a mask inside at all times. Not a lot of people follow that rule anymore. I think a lot of people are kind of over it. People who do wear it still wear it, and that's their choice. I'm completely fine with that. But I think SMU completely got rid of their mask policy. I'm not positive on that. That's what I heard, but we're still technically required to wear masks indoors. But
that's got to be a challenge, because the last 10 days I've been mostly on the East Coast. So we had like a day and a half where we came home to repack. So we went to Disney World. And Florida is generally open, but you know, Disney World, you have to wear a mask at all indoor events or anything indoors. And so even rides that are inside, or even rides where like there's a point where you like go through a building, you have to put the mask on while you go in the line through the building, but then you can take it off when you get on the ride. It's kind of
like Splash Mountain.
We didn't do Splash Mountain, but something like that. Yeah. And
we experienced that too.
So wearing a mask, inside the entire time, and then we went to New York, and obviously, there you have to show your vaccination card to get in most places.
Just go have dinner.
Yeah. And
it's a dystopian utopia.
It is. There are a few places that, small places that don't require masks, but for the most part, I've had a mask on every time I've walked in somewhere for the last 10 days. And so this morning, I went to the store, came here. It was just there's such a feeling of freedom to open a door and not have a mask on. But I feel for you, because and obviously on the plane, that flight back from New York, you have a couple hours in the airport, and then you're on the airplane for 5 hours. My ears were hurting, the back of my ears from my mask.
From the tension on the mask.
Yeah. It's not.
Did you feel safer or no?
No.
Of course not.
I'm not a believer in masks.
Yeah. That's where we agree.
Yes. Yes.
Now, one thing that is different about Texas and about TCU is that they're not requiring vaccinations right now, correct?
No.
So no force needles.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I'm on board for that, because I think you have a right to do what you want to do with your body, and you shouldn't be forced to put something in you that you don't feel comfortable with. Now, I think like maybe if it was more in the future, and like we know more about like what's like, see what the replications are, because we're only a year and a half in since the first vaccine was released. So I think I don't want to tell anyone what to do ever. I'm just like, you go live your life, I live my life, and that's how I want it to work. So,
Chris, you've raised a very wise young woman.
Well, but there's also
very different than some of your peers.
There's also another element to what she's talking about, and that is at this time last year, around Christmas time. In fact, Christmas Eve, I took Grace to a Next Care just around the corner, and she was diagnosed with COVID.
Way to throw me under the bus.
Well, hey, Grace, if it makes you feel any better, it was 2 days after that I was tested positive for COVID.
It wasn't her. It was that time when that spike was just flying through everywhere, and everyone was going to parties, and everybody was trying to get out, and and Grace was diagnosed with COVID, and we had a very interesting Christmas, but it also turned out to be a really nice Christmas because everything was forced to slow down, and we were able to really focus on one another and how much we care and love one another, and how we're just happy to be together. It's not really about. It's nice to go to church. It's nice to go out and go to dinner afterwards, but it's not really about that. Right. So we did a nice pivot. However, over the next week, my wife went down. We all went down. So, but the good thing about that, and that we are finding, and that's been very true with all the data that's there, is that Grace has natural immunity. Mm-hmm. So regardless of if you decide to get vaccinated or not, you have natural immunity, for the disease, which we've been advocates on this show for a long time, that should be recognized as something that's...
Yeah, I mean, I know that natural immunity, at least in my case, is much more important than the vaccination. My father-in-law was vaccinated. My wife was vaccinated, and then she and my kids got it. My father-in-law got it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I already had it. And so even a Delta variant didn't get to me.
The vaccinations are good from the standpoint, especially of people who have not got it, protecting you from serious disease. But it doesn't mean you're not going to get it.
Well, you're going to get it. I mean, that's been the farcical part of all this from the beginning, is that it's never to think that you're not going to get it. It's like saying you're not going to get the flu. Well, you're going to get the flu. You get the flu shot, you're going to get the flu. The reason you get the shot is to protect yourself from dying, hospitalization, which is the same thing for COVID. And it's true. The vaccination has significantly decreased your chances of death or hospitalization, especially if you're older or have the comorbidities. But we also know that if you're someone like Grace, who's young and healthy, maybe gets outside a little bit, has pretty good vitamin D levels in her system.
Yeah. Zinc levels.
She's going to get it, and nothing's going to... I mean, what kind of symptoms did you have?
At first it was a sore throat, and I actually thought I got it from Preston. Well, not like COVID, but he wasn't feeling good like a couple of days before, so I didn't think anything of it. I thought
we thought a cold was going through.
I thought it was just a cold because that's what he had, and then I woke up on Christmas Eve with a fever, and when we went to urgent care, I got tested. First, I got tested for strep because no one was letting me in. They were like, we're like not taking any like COVID tests for the rest of the day. Then my dad was like, go get a strep test. Ask them for a strep test. So I got a swab both stuck in.
Dad knew how to
and nose.
Yeah,
throat and nose.
Yeah, Dad knew how to game the neck scare system just a little bit. Having been through it once before with some of the kids, it's like just strep test. Yeah. And then they have to test for COVID.
Yeah, and then I just had like a bad cough, and I lost my smell. I didn't lose my taste. My friends lost both of theirs. But I just remember sitting on the couch in my friend's apartment because we were all quarantined together. And I remember saying to myself, I've gone to school feeling like this. So I thankfully did not get it as bad. I do think I had it at, when it wasn't really as prevalent and it was just kind of starting, because I got really sick second semester of freshman year, and I went to urgent care. I tested negative for the flu. They didn't test me for anything else, and I actually looked up that day what is COVID, because it was just the beginning. Had no clue what it was, and from all of the panic around it, I thought it was going to be something like Ebola, just from
right.
The panic.
Right.
And because that's what the last disease I remember having, that panic. And so then I looked it up. I was like, oh, these are small symptoms, but or not small symptoms, but normal flu symptoms as well, which is also scary because you want to say oh, I have the flu, but it could not be. And it's just so weird, and it's hard.
Yeah. It's been difficult for everyone your age trying to live through this and figure out what's the right decision, what's the right thing to do. And then when you get COVID, what that means, because of all the fear that's been out there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that's been frustrating is it's been so fear-based, especially, and I say unwarranted, particularly for young people, because the chances of dying from this are so remote. I mean,
it's a decimal point.
Well, you literally have a better chance of being struck by lightning 3 times than getting COVID, than dying from COVID if you're under the age of 25.
Yeah.
I mean, so, Grace, what wisdom can you impart on us as we wrap this up?
I mean, not much. I'm still learning as I go.
That's wisdom. Learn as you go. I mean, that's something that we should.
You had a great internship this last summer.
I did.
You want to give a shout out to any of those folks?
Shout out to Branch 49. Miss you guys. Yeah, it was a good month. I had a good time and I learned a lot, and yeah, I'm excited to take what I learned from there and bring it to other experiences I'll have in the future.
Good.
Yeah. And Branch 49 is a sales accelerator led by our good friend Kevin Youngblood, who's been on the podcast. And
that's right.
They're out there at Canyon Ventures at Grand Canyon University. And Grace had a month-long internship over there.
So you're going to become a master sales?
No, I didn't do any sales stuff.
They didn't put you on the phones?
I refuse. I don't want to be on the phones. I don't even.
It's not for everyone. I know that.
One of the last, because I recently also signed up for classes. One of the few last marketing electives they had left was all of the sales stuff, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna. No one wanted to take that.
But your major is marketing, and that's
Yes.
what you're looking to do. And
Yes.
It was a great experience for you.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Well, we're hoping to coax you back here this summer again.
Yeah. Well, if you get back, then we can have you back on and you can tell us a little bit more about how college is going and how your marketing experience is going.
Oh, that'd be good.
She's like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
she's like, what'd I get myself
Dad,
into?
what in the world are you doing to me? Well, thank you, Grace.
Yeah.
For being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Yeah, I, for one, as her father, am very thankful for her and for our family, and proud as all get out for all the great things that she's doing at the great Texas Christian University.
As you should be. Well done.
So
Great
thanks,
to have you,
Grace.
Grace.
And for our listeners, you can look us up on Facebook,
Yes.
Twitter, and LinkedIn and Instagram, and we just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family and friends, and stay safe.
Remember, this podcast in this country is founded on faith, freedom, and free enterprise. God bless.
See you guys.